Hi, everyone. My name is Iman, and welcome to episode number 7 of PreDental Talk presented by CrackDAT. Today, we are joined by Tyler and Tyrell, who are dental students at Tufts University in Boston, but they also run the FutureDDS YouTube channel, which is something I've personally been watching as I prepare for applications and interviews. So they were great guests. They answered lots of questions about studying for the DAT, interview advice, application advice, and just their journey so far through dental school and everything like that. So that's great. Furthermore, they have agreed, just like Dr. Lee, to come and do an Instagram Live AMA session with us. So if you're interested in asking them some questions, follow us on Instagram at crack.the.dat and follow them _FutureDDS on Instagram and stay posted. And we will have that AMA session sometime in the next week, potentially the 11th, but if you follow us, you'll definitely know the exact date. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to these two guys and we will begin the interview. If you guys want to quickly just introduce yourselves, give the floor to you two.
So my name is Tyler Brown. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I got my undergraduate degree at Howard University, and then I got my master's at Baylor University in Miami, and now I'm up here in Boston.
Yep. And my name is Tyrell. I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I went to undergrad at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I got my master's degree at Barry in Florida with Tyler, and then now we're here at Tufts. So yeah, man.
Long ride.
Yeah, long ride, but we're almost to the finish line, so it feels good.
So yeah, I mean, I'd love, obviously, for this podcast, would love to get into everything from, some pre-dental stuff, the DAT interviews, and then your dental school experience, especially Tufts too, all the way through your podcast. So maybe the first thing I'd probably ask is, when you guys got together and you guys met each other, you became close. But so who had the multimedia background, or was this kind of who had the idea to start the podcast? Did you guys have any previous experience, or how did that all come together with your education and such?
So it actually happened like really organically. Neither one of us were really into YouTube. Neither one of us really had like an Instagram really brand or platform that we were building at the time. But we both had an idea that we kind of wanted to figure out a way where we could reach back and kind of set up some type of big brother, big sister situation, or some type of enrichment type of situation where we're helping people through the pre-dental process. Tyler was talking to one of his friends about, doing something. Yeah. Oh yeah. So you were talking to Sabano, in the living room about something. I was talking on my phone to someone in my room, and we were literally having the same conversation. So I get off the phone, I'm like, Tyler, we got to do this. We have to do it. So literally just set up the phone. And
I think we shot right there.
Yeah.
We shot like the first.
A pilot.
Yeah, the first video right there.
Yeah. So we shot the first video then, and we didn't really know what it would turn into at all. We just knew it was something that we wanted to do. So we did that, kind of set up the website and all, and we officially started shooting the first week of dental school when we got to Tufts. So that's kind of when it got the ball started rolling, and we kind of figured it out from there. Yeah, man.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool, and definitely want to touch upon some of those things in the future, especially with Tufts and everything. But maybe just take a step back at the beginning, because our podcast is talking to a lot of pre-dental students as well, and some people are going through the DAT now. So to start with that, maybe if you guys can go back in time and think about what was your experience in the DAT, like what was the hardest section for you guys, and would you have any advice for anybody taking the test right now?
Yeah, so the DAT was not fun. It never is.
Never fun.
But with that being said, I think that, a couple of pieces of advice that I think we always give to people. One, if you have the ability to really lock in and just focus on the test, then do that, And we understand that some people have to work a job, or we understand that people have other obligations. But if you're able to really, really drop everything for 2 months and lock in on that test, because that test is probably the biggest determinant of you if you're going to get into school or not. So it's kind of like, why not invest 2 months into this major aspect of your application? Another major thing that we always try to tell people: make sure that you are working on the things that you can control. So what does that mean? There's certain subjects on the DAT that you literally you don't know what it's going to be. And so what I mean by that, reading comprehension, you don't know what type of article you're going to get. Granted, you can read all the science articles that you want, but in the grand scheme, you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. Another section, bio, random. I mean, I think I might have had a plant. I think I might have had a plant bio section, and I think he might have had an anatomy one. Super random. But what can you focus on? Okay, there's only so many organic chemistry roadmaps that they can ask you. So therefore, memorize all of them. Max that out. General chemistry. There's only so many subjects they can really test you on. So you might as well max that out. And even math, the math section, cognitive reasoning, knock that out. There's only so much they can ask you. And then with regards to PAT, that's just diligence and putting in the work and practicing over and over and over and over and over and over again. With the DAT, I definitely feel like it's one of those things that you will get the result you want if you put in the work.
I'd have to agree. The PAT is just interesting because it's something that pretty much no pre-dent has ever like done anything like that before. Unless maybe you were a math major, you might have worked a lot with angles or like, just kind of reasoning stuff like that. But for the most part, it's something so unique that you have to just give it so much time and dedication in order to do well in that section. Other things I would say is just like a big key for me was just drilling questions, like doing a lot of practice tests and doing it under time constraints. Because doing questions is cool. You can always like just brush up on material doing questions, but give yourself 45 minutes to do the bio section. Give yourself an hour to do this orgo section. And what I did was, if it breaks out that you can do 60, it's like 60 questions in 45 minutes, I'll give myself 35 minutes to do it instead of 45 minutes, so that I know in the actual test, even if I take an extra 10 seconds per question, I'm good. So do little things like that. The biggest issue I think, or the biggest section that was a problem for me was either between the PAT or the chemistry, just because I didn't really like chemistry personally. The bio was kind of random, but with bio, I kind of just got like the gist of everything because it was so broad. It's like get the super high yield things you can, and from there kind of pick as many details as you can throughout that. But I think that's pretty much all I would do for the DAT, is just grill questions.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff in there. And Tyrell, you were mentioning the PAT, and the one thing I mentioned when I talk about the PAT is I like to say the P stands for practice, because there's just like, you're, like you said, you're unaccustomed to those kinds of questions. You just got to keep drilling it. And you were saying, Tyler, about kind of having that 2-month window if you can. And that's something I was thinking about this summer because that was my plan. But I also had the dental school applications right in the middle of it. And that really derailed I didn't realize how much the personal statement took. I was rewriting drafts and having other people edit it, come back to me. So definitely, that's a great piece of advice as well. So awesome. And, guys, this is kind of what I'm talking about in terms of these two guys, FutureDDS. You really should go check out their YouTube channel and follow them on socials, because they interview so many dental students with all this kinds of great advice. And so we're going to be talking on this podcast, but Tyler and Tyrell have also graciously agreed to make an appearance with us for an Instagram live AMA session. We're going to try to schedule that. The date is not finalized yet, but it's hopefully sometime mid-November or so. So everybody listening, keep posted on that. If you have any questions for these two, they'll be happy to answer. So that being said, let's move on to our next question. Probably after the DAT, you might be doing your application in interviews. So do you have any general advice on that subject?
Yeah, so for the application and interview section, I'd say one of the biggest things that we kind of tend to stress is making sure you're becoming more than just a name on a paper. So kind of letting people know about your story outside of the traditional application, whether that's calling and talking to an admissions director, someone in admissions, sending an email, setting up a Zoom call. Like, try to build that network. Even the students know who you need to get in touch with in these admissions departments, and mentors and different things like that. So build your network up, especially if you have a short list of schools that you want to go to. So I think that's one of the biggest things you have to do, is have a game plan going into it. Make that short list. Maybe pick a few schools that are like reach schools, kind of mid-range schools where you feel competitive, and then a couple schools maybe that you feel like you're a shoe-in. And then go from there. Once you go from there, I think you just kind of can build from there. But I think that's the good foundational starting point.
Yeah, no, I think Terrell articulated it well. Whereas, I think as you get into dental school, because everybody listening to this is going to get into dental school,
For sure.
but you're going to really recognize that connections do mean a lot. And, you know, with our series, the FutureDDS Dental School Experience Series, we kind of gave you all a mentor for every single different school. And, you know, everybody we interviewed, they're very, very open to, you know, questions and things of that nature. So, you know, if I was you all, I would get a list of schools, go see our videos, and there should be a contact information or what in the description box. But if not, listen to their name, find them, ask them questions, and just see what they would do to, you know, increase your chance at their school. Because every school is different. Every school is definitely different. But with regards to the application and interviewing, another thing that we always try to tell people, you know, don't lie. You know, and I think that sounds very obvious, right? But if you put something on your application that wasn't as significant as you made it seem on your application, and then they ask you about it in the interview, if you start to stutter, or, you know, if you're kind of, oh, well, you're just like talking like that, they're gonna know that you kind of you fabricated it. Yeah, just a little bit. It was a little bit fabricated, and we've seen that work against people a lot. Another thing, you know, granted, I doubt there will be in-person interviews for a while, but don't make yourself notice, if that makes sense. Stand out, ask questions. You know, don't be a fly on the wall. We understand that everybody's nervous, but, you know, the last thing that you want to do is be forgettable. Because realistically, everybody's a bio major, everybody's a chemistry major, everybody has a good DAT, everybody has a GPA. You need to speak up, and you need to show that your personality, you know, is one that would be great for dentistry. And that does not mean be annoying. You know, we all know those people who talk too much and are kind of boisterous with the way that they do things, but don't be that person. But make sure that people understand your presence, and show them who you are as a person.
Awesome. So I know, you know, you guys ultimately both went to Tufts. So I was wondering, in terms of when you were doing that, you know, interview process, and Tyrell, you were mentioning about, you know, networking is so important, and, you know, getting to know people. Like, were you taking that attitude with every school in your list? First of all, maybe I should ask, you know, how big were your lists? How many schools you applied to? And do you kind of take that attitude with all of them, or were there just a certain few schools that maybe you put an extra push? I would love to hear about, like, how you prioritize that application list and everything.
Well, yeah, so I'll speak for myself. My list was way too big, you know. I think I applied to maybe like 21 schools. And the crazy thing is, I didn't submit secondaries to half of them because I just didn't have the money. You know, I think that's something that we, as you know, it's a lot of money, and you have to keep this in mind. But I mean, honestly, I didn't go this route with regards to networking, things of that nature, because I just didn't know about it. You know, I didn't even think that was a thing to reach out to people. And, you know, before I got into school, I thought that was kind of off limits. So I didn't make the attempt to reach out and talk to admissions counselors. Granted, you know, luckily I knew somebody, but I didn't make that extra effort that we encourage people to do now, because, you know, we have seen success stories where people will just, hey, go to different Impressions Day programs, or just reach out to different faculty members. And when their time comes, you know, they'll go up for the interview. They might be getting lunch with the dean or something, just based off of the relationship that they have with somebody at that school. So granted, I didn't do it, but if I could talk to my younger self, which we're trying to do now, to the audience, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I was, you know, I was blessed. I was fortunate enough to have like a mentor that put me into a lot of positions where I was able to meet a lot of like admissions directors, be at a lot of conferences. You know, if there's an Impressions Day, I found out about it. I was able to get there and you know, see a school, tour a school, meet the faculty. So I was able to actually meet a lot of the people at the schools that I was interested in. I was fortunate, you know, and able to do that, being able to do that. I know a lot of people, you know, it's hard to just hop on a flight, especially now, to go visit a school or to go, you know, go to an Impressions Day, visit a program. So it is a bit more difficult, but it's still very doable, you know. I think that's a big thing. I think
with Zoom.
With Zoom now, like you can easily set up like a lunch call, something like that. And now they have Zoom Impressions Days. They have Zoom, you know, conferences, DIA conferences, different things like that, where you can actually still get in touch with these people. So there's a lot of different outlets. I think when I was building my list of schools, I was looking at more so things outside of like the baseline things for dental school. At dental school, you're gonna get a certain education. Dental school, you're gonna get like, you're gonna have a certain, you're gonna have other classmates. Obviously, there's certain things that are constants, different things are like city. Where do you want to practice? Or where do you want to go to school? Do you want to experience a new city for these 4 years before you go back home or come home or whatever? So make a list of priorities that are things that are important to you. Is it cost? Would you prefer to pay more to live in a place where you might get a bigger class, or you might get more state-of-the-art dentistry? You're learning more state-of-the-art dentistry, or would you rather pay less and go somewhere where you'll actually be doing more procedures, but you may not have access to as many specialists at your school? So it's a lot of different things that and granted, I didn't necessarily think of it as in depth as I probably should have at the time because I just didn't know. But looking back on it, I did do a little bit of that. And the biggest take homes I would say is find a city you're going to enjoy being in because you're going to be there for 4 years. Find a place where, if tuition is an issue, find somewhere that's going to get you a scholarship or is not as expensive. And, if you want to specialize, look for a place that has a lot of specialties. But if you don't want to specialize, then maybe look for a place that, doesn't have any specialties so you can try everything. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I just want to follow up probably on a couple of things that were mentioned there. So Tyler, first, I know you mentioned you applied to 21 schools. So do you think both of you maybe is there a right number? Is it different for different people, or do you think they're looking back on it now is what you should do with it in terms of the number of schools you apply to?
I only did 5, so I was on the other end. I only did 5. To an extent, I think I probably could have done a few more, just to have more options, but I kind of knew where I wanted to be, so it wasn't that big as a deal for me.
And see, I think that's where, the difference was. I think Tyrell was a little bit more confident when he had applied. When I applied, granted, I had to go do the master's program because of a freak situation, but I had gotten in the year before.
Right. Yeah.
And so when I was applying, I was almost just kind of I just want to go anywhere that will accept me, I'll go. And that's why I kind of committed to 21 schools. But realistically, if I had gotten into, X school, would I have really wanted to go and would I really have been happy? And probably not, especially now that I know what I know with regards to how much, like Tyrell said, location matters. So many things matter in dental school. I can confidently say that if I had gotten accepted and went to some of the schools on my list, I would have not been happy. But, I think it was just one of those situations where I don't want to say I was desperate to get into any school, but, there's a mentality with a lot of pre-dents that, oh my gosh, it's such an honor for me to get into dental school, when you should really think about it the other way and kind of think of it like, hey, you know what? I'm a hardworking, pre-dent. I'm going to make a great dentist. I need to find a school that I know can bring the best out of me and will appreciate me being there, if that makes any sense. So just know your worth as a pre-dent, because you matter, and I think a lot of us, especially while we're applying, we're just so vulnerable, because we just want to get in so bad. But definitely know your worth, and don't just go anywhere, because that's not the move.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, just to agree, it's just I think when I applied, so I applied twice. I applied to the dental school twice. The first time I applied, I was really unsure of me being able to get in. So I only applied to schools where I thought if I got in, it was a blessing, and thank God I'm in. So the second time around, I made more of a list of, a school that I really wanted to go to that was my perfect choice. Another school that I felt really strong about being able to get in, and I really wanted to go there. And then a couple of schools where it was kind of a longer shot. And then one school I knew I figured I felt like I would get in. And it just so happened that my number one choice was the one that accepted me first. So I didn't really have to go through a lot of the, the interviews, the flying around, the anxiety of, am I going to get that acceptance or not? So it ended up working out.
Well, that's really cool. First of all, to hear both of your perspectives on, applying a couple of times and finally getting into the schools that you wanted to, and just the different experiences you guys have had, because, I've done 2 other interviews with dentists, and both of them only applied to I think one of them applied to 2 schools and the other one applied to 1 school, maybe even. So, and then you go online and all these people are applying to, a dozen plus schools. So it's really great, I think, hear these different stories for everyone out there. I think everyone's process is different, and that's definitely something that, you'll learn if you watch the videos that you guys do. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about as well, because, Terrell, you were talking about like the importance of like networking and being able to go to these different like impressions days, etc. And now if they're doing virtually, it's almost in a way more accessible. I mean, obviously experience isn't the same, but at least now you don't have to worry about traveling far away. You can attend these events virtually, which is pretty cool. So I think both of you have logged many hours in front of a webcam interviewing with people. Granted, it's a bit different from dental school interviews, but I was wondering if there's any skills or any lessons that would translate to people going through virtual interviews right now.
Okay, so I'd say some things I learned from doing virtual interviews is, okay, so a big thing with us is the first season we did our interview series, dental school experience series. It was very more free-form, open-ended, and the conversations tend to be a lot longer and more so geared to like the personality of the person instead of as, I guess, cut and dry with like details of the school more so. And I think that with the second time we were a lot more concise. So when I say that, I say know what type of conversation you're trying to have with whoever you're contacting. With your you can get in touch with a student. You guys can have a Zoom call, FaceTime call, text, do whatever you want to. As long as you're like getting that networking, you're kind of like you feel comfortable, in how you guys are exchanging and conversing. But then you have the admissions directors. You have maybe someone who works in admissions where you might just email them and get in touch with a director. Let them know, hey, I need this much time, 15 minutes. I would like to talk about X, Y, Z, so that they know exactly what you want to get in touch with them about, and they expect how long it should take to talk. Because if you just say, oh, I want to talk to you, hey, can we talk, it's on Thursday, it's like, for how long? I don't know. I have a meeting. Is it worth it? Are you even applying? They don't know anything about you. So it'll allow them to know more about you, and you'll set the parameters of like what the conversation should be. It just kind of puts a better foot forward, when you're presenting yourself. So I would say that still, like, even though Zoom, like, put your best foot forward, because the whole landscape of this dentistry world is changing and no one necessarily knows what it is. But from what we've experienced, I think that's key, is like letting people know exactly what the terms of the engagement are going to be so that they can prepare, as well as, you guys can know that you are successful through the talk. You know what I mean?
100%. Like, keep it short. Like he said, a lot of admissions directors, they don't have 45 minutes to an hour. Granted, they might stay on for that long, but I think it's an easier sell. Hey, can I get 15 minutes of your time versus an hour of your time?
You're going to want to talk. That's the thing.
That's the thing. So just know what you're going to say. Another thing, kind of like backing off what Tyrell said, you have the ability while you're going through these interviews to control the conversation. And granted, I know that you don't think you do, but you do. And honestly, that might be even a refreshing take to the interviewer. If you're the one who's kind of leading the conversation, you ask them questions about themselves, or you find out something about the city that the school is in, something about the city. Hey, I've heard about Joe's Crab Shack. I don't know. Is it good? But just be personable. Another thing, just some like a little thing to keep in mind, your air conditioning, right? So a lot of the times, because we always hear things, we don't understand how loud they are, right? And so that air conditioning that might be right above you, that vent is humming while you're on your interview. It's humming. And granted, you don't hear it because you're used to it, but it's being picked up on your computer. So you want to make sure that it sounds crazy, but it's getting cold, so you'll be fine. But turn off that AC, turn off that heat for that good 30 minutes, however long it is. And really just present yourself. Make sure you don't have anything in the back, and smile. We understand that, you're nervous, but smile, let them know, you're a cool person. Like I said, even crack a joke, maybe. I don't know. Just don't be stale. Just don't be stale.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying, we're sitting on Zoom all day now. So it's just like, you can either turn into another Zoom call, or you can, be refreshing. You can make it a refreshing experience. So.
Awesome. Yeah, no, Tyler, when you were talking about AC for a second, I thought you were going to go with the route. At my last interview, actually, it was a little hot in here and I looked under, I had like a huge pit stain. Luckily, I had a jacket over it. So I thought that was the route you're going, but
Oh, yeah.
that's actually really good advice too. I didn't even think about the noises
Yeah.
and everything, you know, 'cause it might be ambient noise you don't really realize. So that's great too. Yeah, so that's awesome. You know, obviously I actually have, you know, a ton more questions. I don't want to keep this interview too long, you know, because I know your guys' time is valuable. And the great thing about this is that we're going to have another conversation on Instagram Live, which is really cool. So students, even people who are listening, if you have questions for these two lovely gentlemen, you can, you know, put them in then, and we can discuss more that time. But I do want to I have a couple more things I want to talk about now. So for sure, one thing is you guys both ended up at Tufts. So I just kind of wanted to hear what is unique about Tufts? Why did you choose the school? And obviously, both you guys are from the South, I think, right? So what you guys came up to Boston, that's pretty, no, not really. Yeah, Baltimore, I guess. No, Baltimore's not. Yeah, you're right. So a little further south. I don't know. I was in DC last summer, and that was like the most humid, like you know, it's humid here, but it took it to another level over there. So yeah. If you guys tell me about the city and the school and why you guys are enjoying it there.
Tufts is awesome. You know, I think that, you know, one of the main things about Tufts, which, okay, so the class size is so large, right? And I think that some people look at that as a negative, but what you can also do is kind of flip that on the side and say, you know, it's a positive because we have so much diversity within our class. And granted, of course, we are not able to see our classmates the way we used to when we were all in the lecture hall or whatever it may be. But, you know, really making a lot of genuine connections with, granted, of course, not everybody, but, you know, we're on a first name basis with 200 future dentists, you know, and everybody is of good heart. So it's just awesome being able to learn from everybody. Our faculty, you know, very, very, very helpful, you know, and I think it's more so, it's a weird thing up here in Boston because granted, we both thought that coming to Boston, people would be more cold. It just being the North in general, but everybody, all of our faculty have been extremely helpful and just super nice and like literally will stay with you for however long you need them to. So that was a huge plus. Another thing that I'm sure will come back into a turn whenever everything kind of settles down with COVID, but Tufts really is huge on global service learning. So there's a lot of different opportunities to go to different countries. I went to Peru last summer, and had a great experience helping out a community out there. And that's another great thing about Boston and Tufts in general. Granted, we are a very expensive school, but with that, you have so many opportunities, a lot of opportunities. You can do, you know, whatever you want. And what I mean by that, you know, we've had community outreach programs where we've been able to pass out hundreds of toothbrushes. I didn't pay. I don't think he paid.
Yeah,
You know, I don't.
tough.
But you know, us being able to you know create these activations and these different campaigns within the community, that's just another huge plus that Tufts has done. And my last thing about Tufts, think about it. We have a YouTube channel. We're filming within the school, of course not in clinic, but you know we're going up and down the hallways, talking to different classmates. And everybody has been so supportive when realistically they didn't have to be. You know, our entire trajectory of a channel could have gone the other way. You know, they could have been like, hey, you know what, you all, we don't want you all talking about whatever on your channel the way you all do. Granted, all positivity, but you know, they could have not been as supportive, and they have been completely. You know, our dean has talked to us and you know, congratulated us and just had a whole bunch of conversations with us. The admissions director at Tufts has been extremely open to helping us. And even our classmates, you know, our classmates have always been there and really supported and really came along the journey with us. So it's really a big family here at Tufts. And I think that's one of the big things or big attractants to the school for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with a lot of that. Honestly, I didn't apply to Tufts the first time I applied to school because I had never heard of Tufts. You know, just it being up in Boston, I just never really been attracted to coming up to Boston for school. But after, you know, doing a lot more research, again, like I had a great mentor that put me in touch with people, you know, that happened to be working at Tufts at the time when I was applying. So, you know, making sure I had a good support system and structure was something that was big for me in the school. And I felt that talking to people at the school, other students that were at the school before applying, coming to visit, doing an impressions day or doing like a symposium weekend, different things like that, where I was able to like see more of the culture, see how everyone was involved with pretty much everything from the top down, from the dean to the deans of admissions to the students to the faculty. All these people are involved with, like Tyler said, going on the trip. All these people are involved with give Kids a Smile Day. All these people are involved with putting on as the PreDental Day. Like everyone is involved in helping one another, building the brand of Tufts, helping each other with projects that we have. We're not the only two people at Tufts doing things. There are students that have initiatives, recycling initiatives, green dentistry initiatives, travel initiatives, like anything with domestically within the community as well as abroad. So I think them being very student centric, giving us a platform to not only become really good dentists, but also become great like community leaders, as well as, if you want to be a YouTube star, if you want to do, if you want to do research, like they literally have any research that you want to do, psych research, public health research, anything. So it's just the opportunities that they provided to us, pretty much the springboard that they provided to us, heading into our career. I think that's what set Tufts apart for me when I was making my decision on what school to go to.
Awesome. Actually, so the first episode that we did for this podcast was with the Associate Director of Admissions at Tufts, Ms. Jillian Anzovino. And that's one thing she stressed was the sense of community at Tufts. And it's really cool to hear that, maybe your classmates are supporting your channel and there's so many different people doing different things at the school. And that kind of ties into the next question I kind of had about, you guys are obviously dental students, but you're also running a YouTube channel. So I was just wondering how you guys find that balance and is the time commitments with this, and if you're pursuing other things outside of these two things in school, how you keep that up. I would love to hear about how you manage that kind of thing.
And it's a lot of just planning. I think Tyler's probably, I'm not gonna lie, Tyler's probably the best pre-planner I've seen, just like really getting everything laid out. But honestly, you gotta make sacrifices that other students don't have to make at times. Like when other students are finished studying and going to get a beer, or going to watch the game, stuff like that, we might be sitting back, might watch the game, but we might be writing a script at the same time, or we might be having a meeting, here, and while other people are going to dinner and meet up with them later. So the little things where, you gotta have a good balance. You have to find the balance of doing things that you want to do versus doing things that you have to do. But at the same time, you have to commit the time to make sure it succeeds, or it will fail. And that's with anything. So designate your time for preps, designate your time for studying, designate your time for whatever hobbies you have, and then with the free time, you can do what you want. So
yeah, and like Tyrell said, it's really all about sacrifice. I mean, there's been a lot of trial and error with all of this, but we both do have so much going on with FutureDDS and outside the dental school, and so I say this to everybody, especially when you're doing extra things outside of dental school, or just being within this 4 years has really taught us how much you could get done in a day, and even the little things with studying, right? You can either study with music with the TV on for 3 hours, or you can learn to, cut those distractions, do that same amount of studying in 1 hour, and then have 2 hours to do something else. It really does put you in a productive mindset being in school. And yeah, another thing, like whatever you do, you have to be passionate about it. And like, we've been passionate, with FutureDDS. And I think luckily we've been able to see how much it's helped people. And that's really what's fueled the tank with regards to us continuing to go, because it's a lot, it really is a lot. But like I said, throughout the times, we've gotten more efficient. Even if, granted, people might have not noticed, but the first season of the interview, the Dental School Experience series, Tyrell and I did them together, pretty much, a lot of them, right? Yeah. We were just there talking, doing this, doing that. And then we said, you know what, let's get more efficient with this process. And so we had set up a system the second year, instead of us, reaching out to everybody and saying, hey, so what time works for you? And that whole scheduling process took so long. We said, you know what, let's set up a system where people can go in, click the time that they want to do the interview. And then when we wake up, what's on the schedule today? Okay, cool. Little things like that just to make things more efficient. And yeah, I think you just have to be able to sacrifice and understand that like you're not going to be able to do everything your friends are doing because they're not doing what you're doing, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And it's definitely cool to hear. I mean, especially for people, you know, a lot of people who are in this pre-dental stage like me or even in dental school, and they're thinking about, you know, what else you want to do with your day. And it seems like you guys have really, you know, set up a system and are doing well with your channel. And so, you know, starting to wrap it up here, maybe one thing I would ask is just in terms of your future plans with FutureDDS and your dental school. And after that, I'd just love to hear what you guys have planned in the future.
So with FutureDDS, we have something very major coming soon.
Coming very soon.
Coming very soon. We are working hard. I think that's another great thing about FutureDDS. We're able to try out a lot of things, you know. So we tried doing the interview series. That worked out. That was great. You know, we tried other things that didn't work out as well. But you know, we're working on a new passion project that we think that everybody is going to enjoy. Everybody is going to be able to utilize. And I think once we do that, that's going to introduce the next wave of FutureDDS. I'm trying to say it, but not really say it, but y'all will see soon.
Very soon. We got a lot of stuff cooking up.
It's on the way.
It's on the way. Yeah, sorry, I'm just kidding, you know. It's coming soon. But honestly, I think that, you know, it's just obviously our perspective is going to start changing, becoming dentists. So it's not that FutureDDS is going to be gone. Obviously, it's not going to be going anywhere, but our hand in it might change a bit more. So we're definitely excited about the future direction of things. For us, well, for me, myself, I'm looking, you know, looking towards graduation now, man, and looking towards the next phase. I'm not looking to specialize at the moment. So, you know, finding an associate position is the next step for us, or for me, definitely, without a doubt. But definitely, I'm sure Tyler too, is just like finding an associate position and really trying to develop what type of dentist we want to be. Because right now, you know, we're dental students, and right now we kind of had everything that we need. Now we just have to start putting it all together and developing our own career philosophies and how we want to practice once we leave. Because after you leave, you can do everything. You don't have to do this many crowns. You don't have to do this endo. You don't have to do that. You can do what dentistry you want to do. So defining the dentist that you know, I want to be, and kind of trying to find the perfect situation to become that dentist. That's the thing. Like, I'm having the vision in mind, but just trying to find that perfect situation. That's the biggest thing for me right now.
And I'm pretty similar to Tyrell in that aspect. Whereas, you know, looking for associateship, and we both recognize the importance of the next step. So really just doing our research, being strategic, and being reflective. I think, like Tyrell said, knowing what type of dentist, and granted, we don't know holistically the type of dentist we want to be because we haven't done anything. Right. We haven't done implants. We haven't done, you know, cosmetic procedures. We haven't done any of that. But, you know, at some point, you do have to kind of recognize, okay, what type of lifestyle do I want? Do I want to go work in a community health center? Am I passionate about that? Am I okay with working 6 days a week? Or am I not? Do I want to work 4 days a week and then work on side projects for, you know, the rest of the week, whatever it may be? And so I think right now we're really in this weird mix of like reflection, and on top of that, clinics getting back, you know, up to speed. So trying to balance all these different things while taking our licensing exams, while taking our boards. It's really like this is like really like the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
like
everything's bubbling to the top, like right now.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
A lot of things are starting to shake out. So
we're just trying to be strategic and make the best decision possible.
Awesome. Well, hey, we definitely look forward to seeing whatever that is coming soon. We will keep an eye on that. And, you know, for all the listeners, definitely check these guys out. And if you guys just want to shout out, is your Instagram page the same as your YouTube channel? It's just FutureDDS, or?
So on YouTube, we're FutureDDS. Just type in FutureDDS, look for the orange smile. On Instagram, _FutureDDS. And then our website is www.futuredds.com. Make sure you head there, add your name to the mailing list, and you will be one of the first to find out when we drop.
100%.
whatever's coming.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. So definitely, keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on our Instagram page to Crack the DAT to learn more about the next Instagram Live Ask Me Anything session where Tyler and Tyrell will be there to answer all your questions. I mean, I know I have some follow-ups. I think I will be in attendance and firing away as well. So thank you both so much for talking. I mean, you guys gave some great advice and learn about Tufts a bit too. And we definitely look forward to talking in the future.
We appreciate it. Thank you so
for
much.
having us. Yep.